Here's 3 things that I would do before starting an Amazon FBA business, or any e-commerce business for that fact. Let's get into the video. First thing that you need to do is take a step back and figure out what the long-term goal is here. Are you doing this as a side hustle? Are you an empire builder? Are you a multiple empire builder? What's your goal, and work your way backwards. From that step, I would then also figure out what strategy you're going to implement to start with, make a solid plan, whether that's retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, private label, bundles, etc. Figure out what your plan is, and then make sure you execute for the next year on that specific plan without deviation. Put whatever you have to put in order so that you make sure you stick to that plan for at least a year. That will give you more progress than switching from this strategy to another strategy to another strategy, and then figuring out that, oh, I'm working too much, I wanted this as a side hustle, or I'm not working enough and I'm not making enough progress and I wanted an empire. Get clear on what you want to do and the strategy you're going to do to start with to get this thing going. That's what I would do to start with. Here's why that's so important. Now, most people in their first 3 months, 6 months or a year, most people, not all, but 90% of people that I see start deviating from the plan. They start losing confidence, they start deviating from the plan, and they start going off track. Doing this, what I just said, stepping in step 1, doing this and making sure you stick to that plan no matter what happens, figuring out your long-term goals so that your mindset's in the right place, actually, although it takes time to do, actually I believe puts you way further ahead from the competition, because you're not going to deviate. You've got your mindset in the right place. You know where you're going. You're not going to deviate. And you know what you're going to do? You're going to stick to that plan because you've said it to yourself. That's number 1. Limited company gives you protection. It gives you protection over you compared to your company. It is a completely separate company. If you have issues with your company, it's not going to personally affect you. People often see limited companies as big scary things that take a lot of work, and look, they can be scary to start with, but the funny thing is you can set them up for about £12. There's actually a link below if you want to use that for Awesome, and they do it all for you in the correct categories, etc. You can set them up for around about £12, and on top of setting up for around about £12, the maintenance of that account, the accounting, especially when you're doing sort of sub £6,000, £7,000 or £1,000 a month, once again I use Awesome, they offer packages for like 50 quid, you know, so that's all you need to know. You don't have to worry at this stage about intensive accounting. To start with, it's setting it up as cheap and maintaining it as cheap, and it keeps you separate from your limited company. So that's the second thing you've got to do. Set up a limited company, decide once you're going to be a sole trader or a limited company, and make sure you set up the limited company if that's the route that you go down. And then obviously you've got to set up your Amazon account as well. So this is like the step 2 combined: limited company, business bank account, and also set up your Amazon account. That's the second thing that you've got to do. Step number 3 is to get yourself organized. A lot of people overlook this and they're confused and overwhelmed, and that's because they're not organizing themselves from the start. Get yourself a Google Drive, okay? Get yourself a Google Drive. It is free. It will connect to your email. Everything that you need, your company setup documentation, put it in its own folder. Your product business, put it in its own folder. Yeah, any accounting documentation stuff, put it in its own folder. Start creating folders and organizing yourself, because I promise you, when you're organized, you will take the business further. When you're organized, you'll have more motivation to focus on the business rather than feeling overwhelmed. It will decrease the overwhelm significantly if you keep yourself organized. A lot of people overlook this. You'll be very surprised the amount of multiple 6-figure or 7-figure sellers that are still unorganized, and they're running their shit, they're running their business as this mess, right, that is not in order. And let me tell you something, the way that you run the small things is the way that you run the big things. If you can't keep yourself organized with your documentations, your receipts, where are your receipts going when you get them, your invoices, what have you got, all the products that you're about to launch, or all your sourcing VAs, have you got a folder for all of their information, all the products, etc. Keeping yourself organized keeps you in good stead for the future. Every stage of this business, when you start to grow afterwards, you need to keep it all organized. A lot of 6-figure or 7-figure sellers are unorganized, and that means that they're unorganized in other areas, which means they're probably making a loss of revenue, a loss of bottom line net profit in other areas because they're unorganized. And a lot of them don't understand this. You could be leaking profit because you're not doing reimbursements properly from your business. You haven't got a proper system to track all this stuff because you're not an organized person. And then you're leaking profit, and that's because from the start you didn't set them procedures to track it all. from the start, get yourself a Google Drive, get yourself organized, and then start layering on the necessary software, tools, and resources. All of mine that I use are below if you want to check out what I use. But mainly, I use a Google Drive. Obviously, I've got a few softwares on top of that to keep the business organized, efficient, and then running good at every single step of the game. No, we're not perfect, but we're a hell of a lot better than a lot of people are. And then obviously, there's a lot of people that are way better than us. Keep yourself at a good level. But then once the business starts to grow, you need to start deploying a lot more work into these areas of the business to keep yourself more organized so that you don't start dropping money outside of your business. So I hope that video has helped. Please make sure you like, follow, and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video.